Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. And for those who are not familiar with my channel, I'll go by One Cheap Compadre, and you're watching Cheap Compadre TV. Now, those who are in the market of buying a home, last couple of days, as far as the real estate market has gone, prices of houses have been going up actually, they're going down. Now you realize that in order to buy a house or property, your FICO score has to be higher or close to 700. And then on top of that, in order to buy a home besides your FICO score, you're going to need at least 20% down. So it's no longer 10 to 15% down as it used to be. Now you'll have to put more up front and have a much better FICO score. So on top of that, if you plan on buying a home, you're going to have to compete with people who may have a much better higher score than you and may have more money. Now, as far as looking for deals, it may be a little bit more difficult to actually find a deal right now, since you're going to have to go through a few hoops in order to even get in the game. So when you actually may find a place that you may like, not only you're going to have to make sure you have a good score, have money saved up, but you're probably going to be competing with other people as well. So this will probably bring up the price of that property. Okay, so that's what you're going to be dealing with the market that's out there right now. So if you're looking for maybe a second home or a second property to make some money from, I advise you to make sure before you do that whatever you have right now is paid off, because that's just going to bring on another responsibility that you may have to deal with. Because right now we have over 20 million people out of work, and many people who have homes that they rent out. A large chunk of people, 30%, didn't pay their mortgage in the month of April. And then we have months that are after April that people may not be able to pay on those following months as well, since more people are applying for unemployment at this time. So that being said, if you plan on getting out there and trying to make an opportunity for yourself to make more money in the real estate game, you may want to make sure that you have all your eggs in order. From 700 or higher credit score, more or at least 20% to put down, or a little bit more, because depending on who else is trying to buy that property that you may have an interest in, you're going to be competing with them and other people. Because remember, this all comes down to supply and demand. And when you have more of a supply, the cheaper it becomes. When you have a less of a supply, the more expensive it becomes, because you have all these people who have a demand for a particular product that they're all competing for. So that being said, if you plan on getting out there, make sure that you, and on top of that, one last thing before I forget. On top of that, when you do go for closing, I believe that the last few days they're going to check to see if you still have incomes, to make sure you're still working. So that's another thing you're going to have to deal with, is the possibility of actually being laid off. So you really have to think about, before you decide to buy a home or another property if it's worth it, because once again, you're going to be taking on the property that you have already as far as the mortgage goes. And then if you decide to take on something else, you're also going to have to deal with that mortgage as well. So you're going to have to make sure that those individuals who are renting your property do have the money to pay for the rent each month. Because if they don't, then guess who else that falls back on if you can't find someone to take over that payment. So just make sure that you really think about it before you enact or act on something that may bring you a sense of security or passive income, extra money that is really worth it. Because if you find yourself in a situation where you have two mortgages, that's just going to be more stress on you. And we don't know how this could turn out with this crisis right now that we're dealing with, this pandemic. So think wisely. Make sure it's a good decision before you act on that impulse, because once it's all said and done, okay, at the end of the day, you're responsible, no one else, and you got to make sure you have enough money to take care of 2 properties, 3 properties, or 4, depending on how much you have. And make sure you have individuals who are able to pay those monthly expenses and rent. Okay? So, that being said, have a great day. Make sure to subscribe.